very quickly if staff and students do not adhere to the measures. So it is important that we are vigilant. It means that we will have to have very strict protocols. And one of the first protocols is our entry protocol. Everybody is going to come in at our main gate, 26 South Camp Road, the gate that is called Alpha Academy's gate. When they come to the gate, as they are dropped off or walk in, they'll be directed straight to the gazebo by the fourth form block for temperature checks and screening. So students in motor cars, you'll drive and be dropped by the lay-by and then loop and exit. If you have a high temperature, the student will have to be isolated. The containment measures that the Ministry of Health gives us is to isolate that student, provide them with a disposable face mask, make arrangements for transportation to a health facility, and to notify the local health department. So if we have a high temperature, this is the procedure the Ministry of Health has determined we must use. If you have a temperature gun at home, a thermometer, take the temperature before you come to school. If the child is ill, don't push and say face to face, they have to go to school. No, it's face to face. They stay home if you are sick. Because if you are sick, you put everybody at risk and you put us in a position where we will have to put you in isolation and take you to a nearby health facility. It means that our entry protocol determines there will be no visitors to the campus during the morning session. Only staff and students are to be there. The office will not even open until 9 a.m. because all our staff will be engaged in doing the protocols of getting students into classes. No visitors, don't come in, don't ask if you can just do this thing at the office. No. Once school is in session, our priority will be getting our children into classes. After 9, the office will open and then you are able to come in and do your business, or your daughter can do her business as necessary. We have a little good news. The cafeteria will be open as of next week, Monday. They will not offer cooked meals in the first instance, but as we settle in, they will expand the menu depending on the demand. So we're expecting light lunches, patties, bun and cheese, that kind of thing to be available next week. And obviously, students are encouraged to bring their lunch from home. That's always the safest thing to do. We're going to encourage students to eat outdoors because we think the fresh air and the natural environment is good and people will need a mass break. And we think that inside the classroom is not a safe environment. So we are going to encourage each child to bring their own personal picnic blanket. I'm from a different generation. So we used to make in Girl Guides a thing called a sit-upon. It was just like a cushion cover with just a little padding in it or even a towel in it that you could take outside and sit on. Even a pillowcase with a little towel inside so you can have a little cushion and sit down. And we're going to sit on the lawns and have our lunch picnic style. Yes, we have some benches, but one of the things that I'm encouraging is to tell the girls not to sit two to a bench, one person to a bench. So sometimes that can get a little crowded. So let's have picnics for lunch and let's get some fresh air and make sure that everybody can see each other. They can talk 6 feet apart and still have their lunch in some relative comfort. Next week, we have face-to-face learning, orientation. So we're not learning anything when you come next week, except how to operate on the campus safely. Obviously, our coordinators are going to be involved in getting that information to you about start time and end time. You'll get a schedule tomorrow in your email. But next week's orientation is about safety on the campus. One of the things I'd like us to bear in mind is that we always want to encourage life balance. I start here, or I end here, because it's so important as we move into a new post-COVID era that we remember some of the advantages of this time. The advantages for all our families. The advantage of spending time together. Of, yes, focusing on our work and our schoolwork, but also to make sure that we are always focused on our health and our friends. And children must have friends. And guess what? That's one of the reasons they're coming back to school, because a lot of them doing well online. Some are not, but they miss their friends. So let's not discourage them from talking to anybody, but teach them safe ways to interact, because life is meant to be lived and lived fully. That's what God asks us to do. Let's encourage a balance. And finally, that means they got to go home on time. We don't want them to be at school and suffering and waiting. We want them to go home on time so they can be with you and do their chores and help and enjoy family time. And we're encouraging you to do the same. So as we move into this new era, we are doing it to the good and the true, and we look forward to working with you. And so I open now, and I am sure we have some questions. And yes, this information will be sent. I'll just send the PowerPoint to everyone tomorrow. But we're going to allow now for some questions. If you will raise your hands, we will allow you to ask some questions. If you could raise your hand, okay. So, Ms. Phillips, or is that Mr.
Hi.
Sorry, yes.
Yes, it's Phillips.
Yes.
Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
I wish everyone a wonderful year. My concern is that seeing that there's a spike in the COVID. I mean, why is there, to me, it's a concern that there's a rush for them to go to face-to-face. My child is in sixth form. And so for me, I don't see it necessary for her to be at school every day when
child, so
hello. Okay. Well, the ministry has invited us to open face-to-face, but I do take your point about the spike. We are all concerned. We are all concerned, and that's why we're listening to the Ministry of Health's press conference as we speak. And but I take your point, and I hear what you're saying about your sixth form daughter. We'll certainly bring it into consideration. And one of the things that I didn't focus on is that we always leave it the option of being fluid and being responsive. So thank you very much for that point. And
okay,
we will certainly return to the team with that clear. Ms. Stewart?
hello, I didn't hear your answer. I got kicked off.
It was the same question, and I was in and out, so I wasn't sure if you did say
Right.
6 was mixed modality or straight.
No, we didn't. The reason that we wanted to give the sixth form that option is because the classrooms they have and the classes they have are smaller in general.
Okay.
So their classrooms can accommodate them safely, and they have a very self-defined area in which they could come to school. But I do bear in mind that concern from our sixth form parents, and I'll certainly discuss it with the team.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Walters Brown?
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I have 2 questions.
Sure.
The first one, is it the unvax and the vax together?
Yes.
Okay. My second question.
Minister said there's no distinction. We are asked to collect the information, but that everyone can come to school.
All right. My second question is, what if you want your child to stay online for the whole time, seeing that there is online offered for each day?
No. Well, I'll give, that question was posed in another context, but posed to the Region 1 director. And I will tell you exactly how she responded. She said, schools and regions cannot make that policy. The Ministry of Education would have to determine that as a policy directive. There were some other parts of the question when it was posed, but in fact, even as staff, we have considered that option. But I would say that in the first few weeks, we would not want to change up the groups too much because that would mean completely reorganizing the groups. But we do bear that in mind. And as I said, I answer exactly how the answer was given to us, although it wasn't specifically to a choice, but to students who are not residing in a jurisdiction, whether outside of the parish or the country. And the answer was that the modality that the school uses is set, and any other option should be a policy directive, or we should be guided by policy that's given by the Ministry of Education. We have not had that yet. If that option is given to us, then we certainly will bring it to the students as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, Ms. Douglas? Meredith Douglas?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I would like to ask, what about the next 2 days if they would be online, the Tuesday and the Thursday?
Yeah, so they would come to school some days and they'd be online at home some days.
Okay, thank you. That's what I want to know. Thanks.
Right. Thank you. Ms. O'Connor?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
First, I would like to say thank you to the school administration and the PTA for getting us to this point.
Thank you.
My concern is that everybody in my household are high risk, including my child. I have been working from home for the past 2 years, so I am not even going to be going into Kingston. And if you look at the school buses when they are taking the kids, they are packed. And I'm going to have to send my child on one of those because I cannot afford to send her on a cab by herself. I am being very honest in that I don't want my child to go back out until this thing is over. She does not want to go back out. And she is having anxiety about going back out. And I can't help her because I don't want her to go back out. My concern also is that I am aware that some parents have been less than responsible in allowing their kids to stay in and to observe the program. I know that they will put other students at risk because while my child does, I am the only one in my house who goes out to get food, medication. When we're going to the doctor, everybody go at the same time because we try to limit going out. I really don't want her to go back out until this is over. What option do I have? What if I get a letter from her doctor? Because she has serious issues and I don't want her to go back out, and she's gonna put everybody will be at risk when she goes out.
Okay, so just to answer this question as well as a question in the chat about someone who is abroad. Again, my understanding is that the school does not yet have the option to give you the option. Okay? Once we determine the modality, then you are invited to use that modality. That's my understanding. I appreciate 100% what you're saying, Ms. O'Connor. And I have friends and family who are in the same space as you, very anxious about this return to school. We are anxious as staff about this return to school. I have to be completely honest. but we also know we can't stand in one place. If an option is available, the school will make every effort to work with parents to exercise that option. But at this moment, as principal, my understanding is that I do not have the option. I don't have the ability to give you that option yet. I am sure that as we negotiate this period, that option will be available. But right now, I don't have that option. But I promise you, I give you my commitment, especially to the parents who have been asking this evening, that we will look at all the options available. One of the things you have to understand is that we don't have as a school the ability to live stream all our classes. So for example, when fourth form or fifth form are on campus with group A or group B, we cannot live stream all the classes at the same time. Everybody knows what internet is about, but those who are understanding better is that there's an upload speed and a download speed. And there's a maximum number of classes that we can upload to the internet for you to receive effectively at any given time, even though we have very, very good internet. We also don't have that equipment. And with the contributions we've had this year, we cannot expand that equipment to be able to offer that hybrid to more than just a few classes. Our past students have been working assiduously to try and help to equip the classrooms. So once we move face-to-face, those who are face-to-face will have to be face-to-face. So that's just the reality, unless we have other things like a new option is available to us and we have the equipment to offer that online class as a hybrid model, okay? So, but I promise you that it is not a question that you are asking in isolation as parents. We also as staff have been exploring that as well. So thank you for voicing it. Kamala McLeish.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Happy New Year. Okay, I have a question for the orientation for the third formers. It didn't state a time finish because I'm sure you don't want the students on the compound to be picked up as soon as it has ended.
Ms. Stevenson, has that email gone out yet? I don't know if Ms. Price is in the meeting.
An email was sent out, but not the time.
Okay, all right. So we will send the time as well. So thank you very much for that.
So another question.
Yes.
All right. Is it okay? So for the students that will be home on stream, and then those students that will be in school face to face, in the event, let's just say the light went at Alpha, and those at home will not be on the stream, but only the students will be in face to face, will be in front of the teacher, will be getting that lesson. Is it the case that the students at home will get like a makeup class? I'm just doing the pros and cons.
I guess we'll have to do that. We'll probably have to post a Google Classroom if there's information given, or we will do some kind of makeup and adjustment. Yeah, those are realities, but more than likely what will happen is that we will post any information or activity to Google Classroom so they can continue to work simultaneously with us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And that's why we're keeping it, So we are keeping all the modalities that we currently use so that if something happens and we have to go back online, we know how to go back online. So we are introducing face-to-face, but we're keeping the model of blended learning, which allows us to be online in both modalities as well. So thank you. Great question. Mr. Moses, Dale Moses.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
All right. My question to you, ma'am. Whilst I understand that, yes, we need to have face-to-face classes, right? My question is in relation to what is in place. Should in case a student or a member of staff comes down with COVID or anything of the sort that may resemble that of COVID, right? How prepared are you guys in responding to an event like that?
I'm going to invite our nurse to have a word here, but just to say, one of the things for us to be approved is for us to have a sick bay and isolation room, an isolation facility for persons who are suspected to have COVID or have those symptoms, but also for us to be responsive right away and be in touch with you. We are about as prepared as we can be for such an event. I suppose you can never be so prepared, but that is why screening at the outset is so important. As you know, and you're hearing in the news now, people are walking around with this thing in the supermarkets everywhere. We can only be as prepared as we have been instructed to do and guided on. So we do have an isolation facility. We do have a sick bay that is really not going to operate. You can't just go and lie down now. The sick bay is really for processing students who are ill, suspected of being ill, and those who might need to go into isolation. So we have everything that was asked of us prepared, and we have an exceptional nurse in Nurse Satar. Nurse Satar, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Hi, good afternoon. Good afternoon, colleagues. Good afternoon, parents. Mrs. McMurray, I believe you answered the question.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, so I hope that helps. I know we can't give any guarantees, but we're as prepared as we can be. Thank you so much. Ebony Richards.
Yes, good afternoon, Miss Morris. Good afternoon, student parents. School opens at 7. Does it mean that classes start that time, or
No, no, no. Thank you for asking that question. Let me be clear. It means the campus opens at 7. That means we don't want them there at 6:30. Because at 7, we know that the guards can start the process and have them in a safe area. Then what we know we can't process everybody from 7:30 to 7:40. And we know that some of you have to get to work and may have to drop your students off. Or we know that sometimes children are coming from far and they get there early, but we're trying to ask you to not have them there before 7. Because when they're there at 7 and they're walking up and down and see their friend, can't control it. They can't go into the classrooms at that stage. So we're saying no earlier than 7 and no later than 3. In fact, we really want them to be picked up at 2:15 and go home. We want them off the campus. We want them out of harm's way. Okay, so thank you for the question. Yes, I am not sure who the next person is. Their device is not named. So I'll take Miss Phillips again, please. Jamil Phillips?
Yes. Sorry about that. In regards to the exams, the timetable, I've noticed that the timetable will come out like the Thursday or the Friday, and the exam is the Monday. Is it possible for timetables in regards to the exams come out a bit earlier to give them time to prepare?
Yes, appreciate that comment, and we'll try our very best to get it out early, especially since some of those exams will be on site. So we'll try our very best. Thank you. Remember, not all exams will be on site. We're working us in, okay? Thank you.
Okay, sure.
Sansha Brown.
Good afternoon. Good evening to the Alpha family. Mrs. McMorris, my question is, okay, my child traveling from a far distance, and I have to let you take the early bus to reach the school on time, because if the traffic hold us in Portmore to reach over, we're not going to reach school on time. And I hear you say that they can't come to school until 7 o'clock.
Well, we'd prefer that, but we're not going to lock out any of our daughters, you know.
Okay.
But we're asking to try your best. Let me tell you something. She is as the same risk she's on the bus. She's at that risk when she's on the campus before 7. Because we are, listen to me, even me, you know, when I see my friends, I want to hug them, I want to touch them, I want to talk to them, I want to get up close to them. And every time we do that, remember, these girls, they love each other, you know, and they should. They should. So the more time we can keep them under control is the safer that they can be. So that's the reason for the 7, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Karen Foster Dean.
Good evening. I
Good
have two questions.
Yes, ma'am.
What are the health and safety protocols that are in place or to be put in place for the return of the girls?
Okay, so we'll go through these at orientation, but they're really the same that you would have in your workplace or in the public space. So upon entry to the campus, every student and every member of staff has a screened. That means their temperature is taken, and if their temperature is elevated and they're walking, for example, they may be asked to wait for a few minutes in a safe space. The temperature will be retaken, and if they're safe, they'll be allowed to proceed. If they are not, then they'll be isolated, contact made with the health facility and with you, and they'll be removed to a facility that it's safe for them to be checked for COVID-19. If the children are on campus and staff, hand wash stations are on each block. Sanitizers are in several of the rooms and in the labs. And the hand protocol, sanitizing protocol posters are all over the school with instructions to teachers and students to use them regularly. One of the protocols we have is that a student's desk is assigned for the session. They may not leave that desk, move that from that desk, or do anything else but remain at the desk. Teachers will not move around the classroom in the way they would have done in a traditional or old-time setting. They'll remain in a fixed location. So they'll have to project. They will, if they are 3 feet from the student, they may remove their mask for instruction. But if they are less than 3 to 6 feet from the students, they will speak with their mask on. Indoors, all masks will be on. Students will be asked to go outside if they have to have remove their mask for any reason. Dining will be on the outside, as we said, as a picnic style, so that children can remove their masks safely and eat, but on individual locations 6 feet apart. So we do have protocols in place, and Ms. Davis has been very good about putting that in our handbook as well. And those protocols will continue. Is there anything more specific you wanted to ask about?
No, thank you. You covered my thoughts. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Okay.
But there's another question I have though. Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
All right. When we return to pick up our daughters, what are we expected to do? Once we get to the gate, what is it that we're supposed to do?
So what we are hoping is that children will be ready to leave when you get there. So we're hoping that you don't have to come and wait, because we don't have a lot of parking facilities. But the idea is the same way they came is the same way they will go. Obviously, we're going to test this because we don't have a lot of, our little roundabout that we've created is very small. And the primary school is not going to be having driving. So it's really just our high school, and it's a smaller portion of our population, but we will just reverse the process on the way out. We do have some parking, but what we'd ask is that parents don't leave the motor car. So we are in a fluid time. We're going to test it, and we've given ourselves to the end of February to kind of trial and error until we get it right. But you just come back and pick her up as the same way. If it is that she's not where she's supposed to be, or you come a little early, then the security will direct you to where to park as you wait for her.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very
All
much.
the best.
Thank you for that question. That was a good question.
All the best for the term.
And same to you. I'm seeing a question about devices popping up on my screen. I don't know if my colleagues are helping to answer that question, but I'm going to invite Mrs. Parker Williams to say something about devices. And just to reiterate Mr. Visco's response, only students are to come to orientation. Parents will not be allowed to exit their motor car, pause and wait with them. As soon as they come, you are to leave. All right, so thank you. Mrs. Park Williams, anything on the use of devices or bringing devices to school?
Good afternoon. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mrs. Mamars. Happy New Year also to our parents who are online with us. We're happy to have you in our meeting. We are finalizing the policy as it relates to devices. As you know, we are coming out of a situation where we were online. And I know that we're also using the Google Classroom, but we are considering and looking into our students' safety in terms of taking their laptops, tablets, whatever it is, on the road and then having them on campus. Our teachers are therefore, we're looking at the methods that we will apply. How can we ensure that we incorporate the Google Classroom, etc. But we also consider student safety. So we will be ensuring that you are given clear details on how this will be done and when. We know that our exam groups, they have SBA and SBA classes and they have these online. So you might find that our directives vary at the different grade levels as we apply various methods at the various grade levels. So we'll keep parents informed of the policy concerning this as soon as we are finished with our meetings with our teachers and our team, so that it's not just learning, but it's ensuring that our students are safe and their equipment, their devices are safe as well.
Thank you. So remember, we're fluid. It's a testing time. We all don't know, and we have a lot to kind of figure out who can stay online if they want, what device we have to use. But for now, only as instructed by the teachers. Okay, thank you so much. I'm not sure if there are any other questions from the chat that I need to address. Well, this has been very sweet and efficient. Thank you very much. There being no other questions, I see 3 participants raising hands, but I don't know where they are. Okay, I'm sorry. Kimberly McLeish, yeah, full name is long. I'm sorry, I can't see. Miss Kimberly.
Good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year again.
Happy New Year.
I must commend you for the efforts that you're making regarding face-to-face learning, and I'm impressed with some of the ideas that was mentioned. My concern, though, is my niece. I'm her guardian, and she's first former, and we have not gotten a handbook. So
you'll get one. When she comes in on Monday, she'll get one.
Comes in on orientation. Okay,
yes,
because we need to read and be aware of what's going on.
Absolutely. And I believe Ms. Davis can confirm, but I believe if a current one is not posted to the website, it will be by next week.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much.
Ms.
Buckner? Ms. Buckner?
Yes. The question that I pose is the first form child I have at the school, she's in the form currently, so she would have to be in her appointment at the same time on Monday.
That's okay. That's okay. I'm sure she'll catch up. If she has to go to the doctor, she has to go to the doctor. Okay. But what you could do is please email your daughter's phone teacher so that she's aware.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Thank you so much. I think it's Mackenzie.
Good evening, Miss McMorris. I'm just wondering if
I'm really not hearing you. I hear a voice way in the background, but I'm not hearing you well.
Miss, are you hearing me now?
Barely, but try now.
Okay. I was asking if there'll be any sports in session for the kids, for the children to.
Did you ask if there's going to be any sports?
Yes.
We said in the second semester, we look at after-school sports, depending on what is happening, what's available. But certainly physical activity, the thing called PE and dance, that will take place.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Ms. Rose?
Hello, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Happy New Year. I was just wondering what time can we pick them up after orientation?
The coordinators will send you an email with the start and end time for orientation. Because each one might be a little different, I don't want to give a time at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Rihanna? Okay. All right. Mr. Moses again?
Yes, ma'am. I know you'd have spoken to drop off for parents who are driving or dropping off child, right? But what if students who are traveling with school buses? For the drop off and picking up.
So they were dropped off at the same spot. And we'll talk to the security about the pickup because sometimes the school buses come a little early. But certainly in the same way that that you drop them off if they're in a car, they'll be dropped off. What I'm very concerned about with the school buses is that sometimes they come on the campus with other students in and they allow the children to come out of the bus. That will not be tolerated and they'll be asked to leave the compound if they do that. So please have a word with the bus driver if your child comes on a school bus. There are no designated school buses, but there are private buses that some parents have engaged. Thank you. Ms. Rose, do you have another question? Is your hand still up or is it that you have finished with the question? Okay, Ms. Fuller?
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Okay, just a clarity. You said the unvaccinated and the vaccinated students will be coming together. Why not separate, even though you guys make your plans already?
The ministry has said all students are to come to school. That's what the government has said. And that we're to make no distinction.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. What we are going to do is to enforce the protocols that are available to us, as we do in every public space, to the fullest of our ability. So we will enforce those protocols to the fullest of our ability of social distancing, hand washing, and mask wearing. And anyone who cannot abide by those protocols will not be able to remain on the compound. But I do appreciate the comment that you have made. Thank you. The person who is at Armor X, it would have been useful if you had named yourself, but we will take your question now.
Hello, good evening. Sorry about
Good
that.
evening.
I'm actually listening to two Zoom calls, two Zoom meetings from two schools. So I'll hurry install on this phone.
That's all right.
All right, so my question is this. Given that the vaccination rate in Jamaica is 26%, and the standard was 65%, I can't understand why schools are opening currently, right? Because I think the decision is putting our children at risk, right? Yes, schools should reopen, but I think a hybrid model would be the best scenario. Hybrid, in a sense that schools be open probably once or twice per week, and thereafter we do online as well. I think the schools probably should go back to the government and ask them to reconsider the approach and probably keep the online mechanism in place for a while, and then gradually open schools regarding face-to-face learning, probably once or twice weekly. Jamaica has a problem in general in terms of overcrowding in schools, because in some classes, generally speaking, there are 40 or 50 students, so social distancing is not possible in a general sense, right? So I think the schools should go back to the government, because I think at this juncture, we're having a spike again in this fourth wave, right? So I think it's not the right time to actually full on go face to face for school.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate your comment, and your comment is heard in the public space now. So from your lips to the minister's ears, I would say this. The hybrid model is the model that we are implementing. Students will not be at school more than 3 days a week at any time, except for the sixth form, and we've heard the comment from sixth form parents. So what you're saying is actually what we're doing. Social distancing is possible inside our classrooms, given the model that we are using. So where students are 40 to a room, they'll be in a space where they can be at least 1 meter apart. We are enforcing every single protocol that we can for their safety, and it is our priority. We hear what you're saying very, very clearly, and we appreciate it. But just to say, we will not have 40 students crammed into a classroom a foot apart. We will have students 3 feet, 1 meter apart, and we'll be enforcing social distancing in every setting that we can. The caution I have is for the students who are unsupervised in the schoolyard, and you know that we cannot supervise them all the time. So the delivery of children to school and the removal from them from the compound in a fast manner before and after school is critical to their safety. So that's one of the things. But thank you very much for your comment, for your caution, and for your questions. Thank you, sir.
One more thing to say.
Yes, sir.
In terms of checking of temperatures, the Omicron variant doesn't necessarily come with a fever, right? Because I'm talking from experience, because somebody in my household currently has that virus, right?
Yes, sir. I know. I had COVID and I never had a fever for any day before Omicron. So it's just one of the screening tools that we'll use. But you're right, and that's why the only thing that can protect us now is enforcing the protocol of distance, hand washing, and mask wearing. That's what will protect us. And really, the distancing is important, and the overcrowding. We don't want that at all, at all, at all. So as your children come out, we have to push that they have to stay away from people. You know, physically 6 feet, 3 feet if we're sitting down with our masks on. So yes, you're right. It's only one tool that we can use.
My final point, given that I'm a member of my family currently has COVID, my child is in grade 10. I don't think it's safe for me to send her out with our kids currently, right? So I will be sending her out, even though, well, she has exams.
Well, sure. I would assume that if the person has COVID now, the 14 days would have passed by the time of exam.
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully, yeah.
So, but if the child is in isolation or quarantine and there is a quarantine order in that household, then we have to respect that.
Okay. All right. Thank you, madam. Thanks for listening to me.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much. Yes, students can do swimming. There's a protocol for the swimming, but before they actually start the swimming, we will discuss the protocol. Shawnee Gordon.
Hi, good evening. My name is Shaniki Gordon.
Shaniki, thank you.
So it's okay. I have a child in fourth form. I joined the meeting late. I was told that by asking the gentleman just now, asking questions, saying it's 3 days a week. So will it be like this week, 3 day, next week, 2 day?
Yes, it will be. I'll just show that screen again in a few minutes, okay? And it will be emailed to everyone tomorrow.
So another question, will it be that it will be a shorter time span for school, or it will be an entire day, like from 7:30 to 3:30?
Not 3:30, we don't have school till 3:30.
Well, 2:30.
Yes.
Because it would be best if it finishes earlier so that they can get out before the rush of work traffic.
Yeah, so we end school at 2 o'clock. Now we use that same timetable.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Yes, ma'am. You had another question?
Why is it the parents aren't allowed in the orientation?
Well, social distancing. We don't have any space to call parents and students. We want to keep them as safe. And so this
Is there a
orientation,
time? Is there a time with the name alphabetically?
no, mommy. This orientation is for the children to know how to operate on the campus. It's not for you. It's not for you. It's for them so that they can be safe on the campus.
All righty.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Miss Phillips?
I was just going to lower my hand because she answered the question. I really just wanted to say that I agree with the parent, the gentleman who spoke earlier. And because of the new virus that is out, my daughter has to take the public transportation, and she has to, as you were saying about reaching school before 7, she probably will get there a bit after 7. But
that's okay.
for me, right? But for me, I honestly really want you to just look into, because as I said, I think I said it earlier, they're in sixth form. I really don't think they need to be at school Monday to Friday. Honest, I really don't think so. And I am asking that you really look into it as well and allow school to be over earlier than usual to, as the parent mentioned, to avoid them, because they have to take the public transportation, you know, rubbing up and mingling with other persons, because they have to take the bus, they have to push into the bus because it's town. And I don't know if you know how town is, Miss, but town is not nice in taking the bus. They push and rub up on each other.
So, mommy, I appreciate what you said. I know. Let me tell you, I don't like nothing about the bus. Boy, the day I didn't have to take the bus anymore, I was happy. So I understand. School is already a shorter day than it was when we left in 2020.
Okay.
It's already a shorter day. It's difficult to change it right now. As I said, we are open and we are looking and listening to you. And I think we're not listening to you, even though we say we can't change. No, we're listening to you. And we are hearing what you're saying. We heard what you said about sixth form. We will go back to the team. It's a little challenging. As a part of the challenge is the ability to do the hybrid model, okay, for everybody. We can't do it for everybody. But we hear what you're saying. And we do understand that if children can leave, for example, a sixth form who is not having classes, then they can go home, okay? So bearing that in mind, Ms. Gordon, a new question?
Okay, question. Why is it, or a suggestion? You're saying 2 this week, 3 next week. Why not have it that they have it come 2 times for the month, like 5 days for the week, and the next week they don't come at all, and then they start again the other week with 5 days? Because
I can answer that quickly. We did present that option to parents, and it was rejected by the parents largely. I think it was less than 30% of the parents who preferred that model, and 70% preferred a few days a week. But also the ministry has asked that every child come to school at least 2 days a week. So those are the 2 reasons. It's not that we would not have looked at that model, but it has been rejected by the parents in the main, and the ministry has directive has said every child should come to school at least 2 days a week.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gooden? Marlon Gooden?
Yes, good evening, Miss, is it Miss or Mrs. McMorris?
Mrs., thank you.
Mrs. McMorris, right. Good evening and good evening, parents. Happy New Year. It's really a comment on my part because I must applaud the efforts of Alpha I really see where there's a lot of effort being put into getting our children face to face. I just want to say that even though we appreciate what is being done in terms of, providing, providing a platform for the students to learn online, studies have shown that face-to-face in terms of the level of, retention and receptivity of information, that, it's higher face-to-face than virtually. And I think in terms of trying to get them back in the classroom as soon as is possible is a good thing. Now I understand in terms of that safety comes first. And I understand that in this kind of environment where, it's trending. But as you have said, it's a fluid situation, and sometimes it's difficult when you're making plans to just at last minute make changes to those. So I am very supportive of the move that is being made, and I know, you guys have our safety at heart. So I must commend you for that. Just one question I want to ask. Somebody had raised asked about cell phones. And I know maybe in light of trying to get the kids to come to the point to pick them up, that might be helpful, but there might be other, since cell phone can be used for other things, there might be other concerns. So I don't know if that is something that will be looked at and some kind of guidance given.
I think Mrs. Park Williams answered that in the chat. They may have their cell phones on them, but they cannot have them on during the school day.
Okay.
So we understand that for communication that may have to happen, but they may not have them on in the school day. And we don't want to get into the punishment story and the confiscation. We don't want to be in that place when we come back. So just ask her to turn it off before she enters the car. Exits the car, ask her to turn off, or before she gets when she gets to school, she calls you, I'm here, turn off your phone now, turn it on at the end of the school day. So help us teach them responsible behavior. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, and good job so far.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for working with us. And I'm going to take Katie and Browns as the last question this way. And I'm going to then take up just to ask the Vice Principal if there are any questions in the chat I need to address. So, Ms. Brown.
Hi, good afternoon. Hello, everyone. I was just inquiring, I don't know if the question was asked already, but for students who had their first dose on the 16th of December, was it indicated when they would have their second dose?
They'll have to go to a prominent vaccination site to get their second dose. I think on the card it says the date. St. Joseph's Hospital is a permanent vaccination site, for example, as is Good Samaritan. We have that question to us today, and so nurse helped me to answer that. So they just go to a permanent vaccination site. They'll get through very easily for their second dose. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Questions in the chat, Ms. Davis or Mrs. Parker, is there anything that we need to address here, or has everything been taken care of?
Good evening again. Most questions have been addressed. I think for some persons, they may need to speak to the coordinators directly. But I think the majority, Ms. Davis can confirm, the team has been trying to respond. And
I thank so much.
I see, big up to our sixth formers. I see a sixth former assisting us as well. So great job.
Love that, love that. You see, that's why we love them, and have to have them with us all the time because they are the leaders of our school. So thank you so much, team. Thank you for working with us. And I'm just going to hand over back to Ms. Clark, or if she has a few comments before we close the meeting.
Hello?
Yes,
are you
you're
hearing?
on, Clark.
Okay.
You're turning on and off your camera.
Oh, okay. Okay, good evening again, parents. I hope this session has been very helpful. Thank you all for, joining us this evening. We hope most of you, some persons couldn't get on because our capacity was full, but you were invited to join us on YouTube, and I hope you did. As Mrs. McMorris has promised, tomorrow she will send an email with the main points, so we'll be able to catch up. And if you have any additional comments or need any further clarification, you can speak to the parent rep, and they will direct the question to us, the executives, and we, as usual, will find a solution, get you some answers. This has been a most enlightening evening. We can see the lots of effort and hard work put into, making this hybrid model possible. We know a lot of you are concerned, with the spike in the COVID. A lot of you are have concerns about, your children going out, but we just have to do our best. And as Mrs. McMorris says, when they're at school, to abide by the protocols. We'll try to get them home off campus early and to you safely. Thank you all for being with us today, and have a good night. Bye.
Good night all, and we'll see you soon.